in the underwear area can actually lead to some pretty bad results.
Like, I don't know, itching powder just seems like too far for me. Like, it's like a physically harmful thing. Also, you guys could need to fight at any time, and I'm sure it's really distracting to fight when you're itchy. Yeah, it's not it's not that fun. It's not a great prank.
Just, if you want to prank someone, just use a whoopee cushion. Damage their reputation.
Sam suggests that maybe they're dealing with a tulpa, which is, I don't know why I said tulpa like that.
Tulpa.
Tulpa, a Tibetan thought form. And is this the same thing as the psychic thought form that John hunted that Sam referenced in Skin? Because that would actually make some sense, that like why it was confused with a shifter.
I don't know, maybe. Based on my research, they could be related.
Because I really want to know about the psychic thought form. If it's something like this, then that actually makes sense to me.
Yeah, probably.
Because this thing like changes based on like what people believe in. That actually does make sense.
Yeah.
Dean says, of course he knows what a tulpa is, and they go out to eat. Sam is not having a great time. He's itchy.
No kidding.
Sam tells us about 20 Tibetan monks that brought a golem to life and asks Dean what he thinks the power of 10,000 web surfers could do. And then...
Did you say that they brought a golem to life?
Yes.
Those are Jewish.
They are.
All right, then.
That's what Sam said.
Okay, continue.
And then Sam pulls up the sigil that we just saw Dana drawing in Craig's flashback. It's a Tibetan spirit sigil used for centuries to concentrate meditative energies, hence the tulpa.
Yep.
Sam says it's like a game of telephone that creates a monster. That's fun. Love that.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun.
The least fun game of telephone ever.
There's a body count, children.
Dean asks how the hell they're supposed to kill an idea. Sam says Ed and Harry definitely won't want to help them because their website's hits have quadrupled just in the last day.
That sounds like something that would be in like the opening narration for like a movie on a revolution or something. Like, how do you kill an idea?
Oh my god, yes. Sam finally complains about being itchy and Dean starts laughing. I'm over that. Ed and Harry are in their like trailer that they have. Harry does not want to go back in the house and Ed is trying to talk him into it with the promise of fame, money, and sex with girls. Also, this is when we learn that another of their heroes is Buffy the Vampire Slayer. As they repeat to each other, WWBD, what would Buffy do?
Honestly, not a bad role model.
Yeah, as far as role models these guys could have goes, I like this Buffy. If they didn't exist in the world of Supernatural, Sam and Dean Winchester would be. They'd be fans of the Winchesters.
They would, but...
Do you think, not to get ahead of ourselves, but later in Supernatural is like an in-canon, in-universe, like, franchise. And Ed and Harry know who the Winchesters are. Like, they've met the Winchesters a couple times. Do you think that they've read the Supernatural books?
Oh, I hope so.
Do you think that they love them or hate them? I mean, I just assume that they must hate them because they hate the Winchesters.
Probably. This is something that they should have explored on the show because it needs to be.
I wish that they'd address this.
This gives me far more joy than it should.
Sam and Dean show up at the trailer, and Dean makes fun of their action figures.
Don't make fun of action figures.
Sam and Dean try to appeal to their sense of morality, and that doesn't work, so Sam immediately puts on his most arrogant voice, the anti-Sam whisper, and baits them into putting some information on their website. It's very funny.
Oh, yes.
Harry just, like, runs to upload it. Sam and Dean tell Harry the following information. Mordecai Murdoch shot himself with a .45, is now terrified of guns, and can be killed if shot with special wrought iron rounds. I'm not sure why they put in this. I guess they put in the special wrought iron rounds so that it would, like, gain traction on the internet. If they were smart, they just would have said any gun would do, just to, like, better their chances, but...
Yeah, I feel like the wrought iron rounds, you're right, would be more popular.
It just adds some spice to make sure that this thing, like, gets on the internet. Harry runs to upload the information.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like how, like, the origin of, like, silver killing werewolves. It sounds cool. We're adding it.
Sam and Dean are getting another meal. They have to eat 3 times a day, so we're just gonna see them eat a lot this episode. Dean is annoying Sam with this unexplained interactive wall art. It's like a wooden carving of a man with, like, a pull string, and it laughs creepily.
It doesn't laugh, it cackles.
It cackles, yes. That is exactly the word that we want.
Just make it shut up.
Sam and Dean decide they're going to go back that night once Ed and Harry's story has had some time to spread. Sam super glues Dean's hand to his beer bottle. I'm not sure how he did this without Dean noticing, but good for Sam.
But also, ouch.
Ouch, yeah, super glue is not great to have on your skin, so I also don't love this either. It's slightly funnier to me, but yeah, actually not great for your skin. Don't do that in real life.
Don't play with chemicals, children.
What I do like is Sam then pulls the string that he was just annoyed at Dean for pulling, so the thing can laugh at Dean.
We're both laughing at you, dear brother.
They also take it with them somehow, and no one in the restaurant gets mad at them.
I feel like the servers were the only ones who saw, and they were secretly like, yes, it's gone.
Oh my god, get it out of here. It's like my mom used to work at a store, and for like all of November and December, they play the same like Christmas mixtape.
I feel her pain.
Yeah, I feel like the servers at this restaurant had similar feelings about this cackling Waller.
Oh gosh, I know. I was working at a retailer in December, and I got so tired of anything with Ariana Grande.
That's fair. Anyway, they take it with them to the woods, and they use it to distract the cops while they break into the house. Because the cops are still trying to hold that perimeter, even though they did not do a great job the night before.
They're doing their best.
Sam makes a masturbation joke by declining the opportunity to make a masturbation joke. Like, the joke is that he's too good to make the joke.
Exactly.
Ed and Harry almost get shot by Sam and Dean because they are also lurking in this house.
How did they get past the cops?
Well, the cops were already distracted. They didn't have to worry about it.
When did they get past the cops?
Unclear.
Alright.
Mordecai appears and Sam and Dean shoot him, but Mordecai isn't dying. Ed and Harry's server apparently crashed because they were getting too many hits and their site was good. Tiny. The new information about Mordecai didn't spread enough and the guns don't work.
Yay. That sucks.
Ed and Harry get cornered, and Ed starts yelling, "The power of Christ compels you," which is, I believe, an Exorcist reference.
Probably.
Which is actually kind of funny, because I believe The Exorcist and the movie, the John Hughes film that this episode's named after, I believe both came out in 1973.
Well, it's very specific.
It's also a little bit sad that Dean finds these guys so annoying and pathetic, because they have this exact same taste in pop culture.
You could get along, guys. You could
They
get along.
literally could have been friends, except for that Dean's in, like, full-on, like, jock mode.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Making fun of D&D, like, get some new material.
Sam is being strangled with his own gun, and Dean whips out a flamethrower from somewhere. And they, and by they I mean Dean, decide to burn the house to the ground.
He just carries that in his pocket, because he's a guy, he's got big pockets.
It seems like he then just has a lighter, like, in the next second, so I kind of think we didn't really get a good look at the flamethrower. It might have just been hairspray.
He's got that in his pocket, too.
Dean's gonna make the spikes stick up somehow. Mordecai can't haunt a house that doesn't exist, and they just have to hope that that's good enough.
That is like some of the funniest out-of-the-box thinking I've seen on this show.
I mean, he backs it up with some solid-ish logic.
Exactly. Just like, hey, haunted house is a problem? Well, the house is no longer a problem.
That seems like good enough for me. Sam takes a minute to muse about the things that they've ever hunted and how many of them just existed because people believed in them, which I think goes back to that philosophical question of what makes a monster, and in particular, is Sam a monster or not?
Some very deep thinking. Let's reflect on that.
Just at the end of this episode, just, to throw it in here. It was a really kind of silly episode, so. Dean doesn't respond, and they watch the house burn for a sec. Ed and Harry have received a call from a very important Hollywood producer who wants to option the rights to their, I guess, website about the Hell House and possibly write the movie and a role-playing game.
Fun.
Sam and Dean are like, oh, good for you. They're like congratulating them. They're like seeing them off. Good for you guys. And then as soon as they're gone, Sam confesses that he is the Hollywood producer, which makes Dean start laughing, and he confesses that he has placed a dead fish in the backseat of their vehicle.
Wow.
Sam's is more of a sophisticated but cruel joke, and Dean's is like a less thought out, but I think a more prank-like joke.
Yeah.
I love them inadvertently teaming up, but I gotta say, Sam's pranks actually really mean I don't like pranks. Like, they're gonna drive all the way to LA, which is, it's horribly expensive to live in LA. They're gonna get to LA. They're not gonna have this job opportunity that they're expecting. Who knows what they've left behind in the meantime for this opportunity. I don't think it's that funny.
On the bright side, they have a pink flamingo on top of their car, which is fun.
They had it. It was outside their trailer when we saw it outside their trailer earlier.
I approve.
I really enjoy a pink blonde flamingo. As they drive away in Baby, there's music. It's Burning for You by Blue Oyster Cult for a second time. Prime also repeated the same song that they had substituted when they played Burn of You the first time. This time I did look it up. I'm like, I didn't bother to look it up the first time. I did the second time. It's Vicky and Jackie by Robert Roth. It's fine, but I was loving the Blue Oyster Cult tie-in theme, and I feel like this is the second episode that this season the streaming service like slighted them by not getting the rights. Like, it's just the first season that this is a problem, and like Blue Oyster Cult had 2 episodes where they were highly featured. But that's it. That's the end of the episode. It was kind of like a silly, goofy mood this week.
Whoop whoop.
On to some of our weekly segments and panels. Let's update some stats. Total death count. This week, I think we just saw poor Jill die, bringing our on-screen total to 138. And the on and off-screen total for this episode was also 1, because Dana wasn't really dead. And the on and off-screen show total is now 829 plus.
Does the tulpa count?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think I'm gonna count it.
All right.
I wouldn't count like another monster. Like, what are some other monsters that we've had?
I don't think you counted the shapeshifter either.
Ghosts I count because that was a person. I don't count them as the on-screen total. I usually count them as the off-screen total.
Okay.
Because they died like before this moment.
Shapeshifters are people too.
Except not when it comes to death count. I think I'm gonna go no. I think I'm gonna go no and not count him because he's not really a real person. Presumably, I forget if Sam mentioned what the actual like Martin Murdoch died of, but I don't think it was anything like nefarious.
Died
I think
of
Sam
being
said
alive.
like a heart attack or something like that. It wasn't anything that like was supernatural related, so
no,
I'm not counting it. MVP of the week. Let's see, Meredith, who would you like to be this week's most valuable person?
It's kind of a toss-up because the boys both did a lot. I'll go with Dean because he burned down the house and that was kind of funny.
I split this one 50-50 between the boys, so I hear you.
I didn't know you could do that.
You can do whatever you want.
That's fair.
Would you also like to split it 50-50 or are you sticking with Dean?
I'll stick with Dean.
Okay, stick with Dean. That's good. On to the Bechdel test. 2 named women in this episode?
Yes.
Yes, we had Jill and we had Cousin Dana.
Were none of the other girls named?
No.
No, I don't think they were.
Half of the dumb teens weren't named in this episode. Jill was the only one in her group. There was 3, like Jill and 2 other people, and none of the other 2, the other girl and the guy weren't named.
That's fair.
Craig, I think, was the only one of his group that had a name, and there was 2 other boys and another girl there.
That's fair. That's fair. Dana and Jill did not interact.
They did not interact. Most of Jill's conversation was about whether or not she's going to have to kiss that guy, so.
Or just go into the house where another guy was waiting.
That's a big old no. This week's case of the week was a tulpa, who comes from, I assume, Tibetan mythology. I assume they didn't screw it up that badly.
Well, no, not really that much.
It is from Tibet.
Yes, I will get into that.
Excellent.
Alright, so tulpa is a sentient being created through the power of concentrated thought, and the practice originates with Tibetan Buddhist monks, but it has been appropriated by Westerners in some very interesting ways. Buddhism is practiced by hundreds of millions of people, so I apologize to any Buddhists if I misrepresent your religion. It's not my intention to do so, and if you ever want to reach out to me, KJ, or the podcast, we'll advertise our social media at the end of the episode. A tulpa would be created by Tibetan monks to carry out tasks, and an interesting thing about tulpas is that they can have free will and personalities, so sometimes they might disobey their masters and do whatever they want instead, which is something we didn't see in this episode, but I didn't miss it.
Before you go on, this is totally random, but
okay.
I haven't had the opportunity to do this in a while, and usually I don't do it on this podcast, but I have a drink here, just like waiting to be opened.
Okay.
Would you like a satisfying drink crack?
Sure. That was lovely.
Thanks. I'm going to enjoy my cranberry ginger ale while you continue to educate us.
Okay. I believe they weren't originally called tulpas. They might have been referred to as like trolpas, and that was related to the Buddhist nirmita, or apparitional creations. They might have related to physical manifestations of the Buddha, but the articles I read were kind of unclear, so please don't quote me on this. I'm really not sure.
If anybody ever knows any of this stuff that we don't know that much about, please write to us.
Please. This is all really interesting.
Yeah, we love learning about this stuff.
Yes. The concept of the tulpa was... now I'm saying it, tulpa, was appropriated by Westerners in the early 20th century when explorer Alexandra David Neal visited Tibet and observed the practices of Buddhist monks there. Through her and others like her, the tulpa became associated with the 19th century religion Theosophism and with Western mysticism. The tulpa, as we understand it, is now just a sentient thought form, and its original Buddhist connotations have been mostly stripped away. In the 21st century, the meaning has extended to imaginary friends that accidentally or deliberately became real in adulthood. Which leads us to one of the weirdest things I've ever had the misfortune of reading.
Oh no. I'm afraid. I'm genuinely, can't even begin to imagine what you're about to say.
I'm a little bit traumatized.
Well, share the trauma. That's
in the
what we're here for.
2010s, adult fans of My Little Pony started making their own tulpas.
No, not the My Little Pony fandom.
Fans have made internet forums where they share original characters based on those from the show and talk about who they are.